The more I hear about Mia Khalifa, the more I don't like her. From the lies to the psychopathic comments about veterans and children, I really just don't like her. The people like Mia who claim they want nuance and they want like order and the truth to be brought out, they just want to be able to, on who they see as their enemies, who really are potentially some of the people that have protected her. Next, I wanted to go over something that we talked about on stream that we had a bit of a response to. Now, not to us or not to the guy who made the video, but do you guys remember when I did the video, when I reacted to Gamer from Mars video on Mia Khalifa? You guys remember this? Gamer from Mars did like a really well executed, in-depth documentary of Mia Khalifa and going over some of her truths and also some of her lies. You can see his video here, 44 minutes, my reaction, hour and 26, right? Had a lot to say about it. Definitely was, going after a serious case of goonerism there. Well, she's kind of recently talked about some of the claims in the video a little bit, and it's because she did an interview with Louis Theroux, and I'm curious to watch that and see how it went. And she's also gotten in some drama recently regarding like Frogan stuff, which I don't know a lot about, but apparently she's weighed in here a little bit, and I am super hyped to see what happened there. So we're going to start with the video.
About 2 months ago, I made a detailed video digging into the strange life of ex-adult actress Mia Khalifa. To summarize, I found that the narrative around her life parroted by her and the unassuming media was faulty to say the least, with many falsehoods treated as facts. With that video receiving over 1 million views, I hoped that people would start asking her more insightful questions during interviews, and I became excited when I saw a post showing that she was going to appear on Louis Theroux's podcast. I've been a longtime fan of this British documentarian since I was a teenager, with his style being an influence on my IRL documentaries to this very day.
Louis Theroux is like, he's kind of like taking a more internet savvy approach recently. I think he did a video on Brittany Venti, which is really weird. You know, I like Brittany Venti. I think she's interesting. She's got an interesting story. I consider doing like a documentary piece about her, but it's really interesting that of all the people he could have covered, he covered like a relatively speaking like small streamer. Like he didn't like do like a Hassan documentary. He did it with Brittany Venti. Gamer from Mars got swole. He's been swole for a few years. He's a huge dude.
Him hanging out with the Westboro Baptist Church or spending a week in a facility for registered sex offenders with his often deadpan reactions to strange individuals made for very engaging content. In short, I always appreciated his curious nature to see the humanity in everyone he spent time with, and I hoped he could do the same with Mia. Unfortunately, what I would discover this time was a man that didn't do enough research on his subject, seemingly underestimating how difficult it would be to get her to open up about her past. I first knew I was in for a bad time only a minute into the show when he would give a cookie-cutter explanation of the ex-adult star's backstory.
She arrived in the public arena after starring in a number of adult films at the age of 21, though she was only in the industry for 3 months.
This claim is completely false. She was employed at a strip club before working in a plethora of adult videos for a website called Scoreland, then moving on to Bang Bros, where she filmed and cammed for
Bang
over a year.
Bros.
In between filming and camming, she was in the space for over 2.5 years. I can't blame him for getting this wrong since Mia says it all the time.
I'll blame him a little bit. F it. I'll blame him a little bit, you know? Louis Theroux is the documentary guy. He's the research guy. He's the guy who digs deep. He goes deep into these situations. What did he do? He just read her Wikipedia page. Wikipedia can be useful for research as like a good starting point. You know, I've used Wikipedia for videos because if you go on it, it's like decently well written and well structured. It's pretty succinct, and they link, pretty much all their sources, but it's not always the end all be all. A lot of Wikipedia is going to be the most popular sources and narratives being pushed about someone without any of the deep research, right? So for Louis Theroux, I mean, if he's going to bring her on and ask her questions, I feel like he should probably be looking into it a little bit more. I think that makes sense. I'm really perplexed that Mia thought she could get away with lying about like how many videos she did, considering that like it's on video. Like there's videos of her naked on the internet that have been documented for like 10 years. So the fact that she thought she could get away with lying after the fact is confusing to me. But I think the reason that she did it, and we don't have to speculate a lot here, is because she wanted to make it seem like she was completely wronged by the industry and basically go with that narrative. And to be clear, I don't think the industry is good. For a lot of girls, it's definitely harmful for them. Even the ones that, are quote unquote willing to go into it from the start. I don't think it benefits them. I don't think most stars are going to be happy people with happy lives after they do it. But like she could have at least been honest about that instead of she had like this whole beef, I think, with, was it Brazzers or Bang Bros, where she was like posting about them and then they responded by instead showing How many videos she was actually in with like sources. The Mia Khalifa Bang Bros drama, the Mia Khalifa Brazzers drama, it was awesome. Goon Analyst wouldn't let it slip. Yeah, dude, there was this really funny comment on Art's video. I want to say it was the top comment. What was it? It was something like, despite the controversy, I still watch her every day. It was something like that. And I was like, bro, that's crazy. Or like, it was phrased way funnier than I'm doing it right now.
With the journalist repeating it without question. As the podcast proper begins, the two start off with pleasantries before Louie delves into her current use of the website OnlyFans, where she posts lewd photos and videos of herself to this very day.
On OnlyFans, according to
Gamer from Mars, caught gooning in 4K. She posted to this day. Well, how do you know that, buddy? Wouldn't you have to subscribe?
this, you
Maybe he's financially conscious. He looked up the leaks.
were the fifth highest earning, what would be the term? Performer, influencer.
Performer. The fifth highest earning performer. Yeah, OnlyFans girls are performers. They're performing. I guess they're performing Hawk Tuah, if you want to say that. They're doing kind of a Hawk Tuah impression a lot of the time. But I don't know if performer is quite the right word. I'm not saying he has to say like 304, but, you know, if you're going to talk about this shit, like, you don't have to dance around it. You can be like naked model or something. Even like naked model is closer to the truth, you know?
On OnlyFans.
It's not nudity, it's not performing, it's not anything. It's just a platform that I use similar to how I used to use Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Her claiming that
She's literally like naked in the profile picture. That doesn't make any sense. What did you use Patreon for? Was that for? And also, okay, if you're gonna just use a paywalled site to make content, that's totally fine. Patreon's fine. Subscribestar, whatever it is, that's totally fine. But like, why would you go to OnlyFans specifically? You know, I highly doubt there are very many people who are like, oh, I want to paywall my new podcast where we're all fully clothed and talk about gaming. We're gonna do it on OnlyFans. I doubt that's happening that much. Honestly, that'd be a funny bit just to do that. But, I mean, pretty much all of OnlyFans is just for, you know, being naked on camera, right? Just say sex worker like everyone else. I mean, even that, like, is, you know, clearer in denoting it, sex worker. I guess that is kind of an accurate term, although maybe I'm just cringed out by that term because of the kinds of people that use it. I'm a sex worker. It's like, all right. Well, I guess so. I guess in a technical sense you are, for sure.
there's no nudity on her OnlyFans is untrue.
OnlyFans was about that originally? Well, if it was, it's not the case now whatsoever.
And I don't know what compelled her to say this. Sure, there's no hardcore scenes, but she does expose the upper half of her body. I find it strange that she would get this defensive, as Louie wasn't pointing this out in an accusatory way. It was just a straightforward question about her current career without any judgment being passed. What you'll begin to notice is how Mia is able to steer these conversations by smiling and being conversational, whenever asked about her interests such as promoting her jewelry line. But whenever it goes into anything related to sex work, she almost looks irritated that it's being brought up. She then doesn't talk much or just gets very defensive until the topic is changed.
So this is a Louis Theroux podcast first because we have Jeopardy built in. Mia was the #1 ranked performer on Pornhub in December 2014.
Look at her face. She doesn't like that at all. I mean, I almost kind of feel bad for her despite the fact she's lied about it since then. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be proud if I was her, if like the reason everybody knew me was because I was naked online and, you know, sucked some dicks on camera, wore a hijab while sucking some dick. Like, I wouldn't be happy about that. Clearly she has some regret over it, at least the hardcore stuff. But at the same time, it's like she's still profiting off of OnlyFans where she gets naked on camera. So, like, you haven't really changed, have you? What does she expect? Yeah, exactly. Are there any, I'm curious, maybe some gooners in chat will know. Are there any stars who have managed to transition out of and, like, not do anymore at all and, like, be more well-known after the fact? I would assume if they were really popular and they'd really have a hard time doing that if they were really famous. But I would assume, like, if they had, like, one person gooning to them after the fact, maybe they would have an easier time because it wasn't, like, they weren't, like, known for it, you know? Sasha Grey. Who is Sasha Grey? I think even looking this up might be bad. Her Twitch. Let's check out her. Okay, so she has 2 million followers on Instagram. Let's check out her Twitch. And what does she do on Twitch? Oh, she does have a big Twitch, actually. Damn. Is she actually was she a former Goon star? Pornographic film actress, so she was. She's got 1.2 million followers on Twitch. She's actually pretty big. And she's actually not doing Gooner content. She's got an active chat. She did do it. Damn, well, good for her for pushing past that kind of stuff. They transitioned plenty, but no, they're definitely still remembered for their... Well, they'll be remembered for it, but, like, if you can escape that, I feel like it's pretty impressive. You can go from only being known for having sex on camera to being known as like something outside of that, and it not being for, you know, what, like how you look, and instead it's like something to do with, you know, what you have to say. I mean, she's not even really dressing like scandalously in these VODs. She's just dressed like a normal girl. So like she seemingly has actually managed to transition out. Good for her. That's surprising. She's the one that broke her spine at Twitch. No, I think that's someone else. I don't remember her name, but I do know that that's not her name. Morgue Pie, she does not count. If you've seen what Morgue Pie's content is, I don't think that I mean, I guess I'm not really a huge Morgue Pie fan, so I don't know what she does daily, but anytime I hear about Morgue Pie, it's because she like put a green screen on her ass or something like that, so I doubt it. Sketch? Oh, yeah. I forgot about Sketch. Yeah, Sketch did do it, although Sketch wasn't really known for it. He was kind of an undercover gooner, but yeah, that's true. Sketch did do it. That's so funny. Sketch totally did. That's a perfect example. Did Mia not pick up dog poop with her mask, then use the mask? If she did do that, I don't remember it. Mia Khalifa... dog poop? Face mask incident explained. What? This is staged. There's no, okay, first of all, if she looks around, she had to have seen the guy behind the car filming. I feel like you would have to see that. Secondly, what was he just filming her on the street randomly until she did this? He couldn't have predicted she was going to do this. She did this for publicity. There's no doubt in my mind. 1000%. This is staged, dude. This is old as hell. I've never seen this. I'm not on the talk, so I wouldn't really know. I rarely use TikTok. Okay, she definitely did this for publicity. There's no doubt. It has to be the case. I learned this from you. What do you mean? I forgot that this happened. You got to understand, when I'm watching these hour-long videos all the time, I'm going to forget details. Dog was a paid actor? Base, dude. Apparently she was seen in the shirt later that day, like a TikTok or something, so the outfit matches. I think it is her. It looks like her. I feel like there's just no way that this was like unplanned, that you get caught doing this. She literally looked around. She could have easily seen this guy, I feel like, from behind this car. I did memory hole it. I didn't want to remember this. That's insane, though. She did it for the buzz. I mean, she flipped it. It's not an excuse. Yeah, someone did say she flipped it. Why is she wearing a mask outside, though? That's another question. It's just average California person. I did wear masks when it was a thing, but I didn't wear them fucking outside if I could avoid it. I think on campus they did make me wear masks when I was like walking from class to class, and I think I would like just pull it down and not give a shit. Most of the other kids did that too. It was 2020, yeah, but like she's outside walking her dog. Was there a mask mandate for when you're outside walking a dog? Is that... I don't even remember, honestly. I feel like I've memory holed so much of COVID. Plus, for most of it, well, not most of it, but a good part of it, it was like, you know, I was in my senior year of high school, so we left school in like March or something, and then past that, I was just at home making videos, so I wasn't wearing a mask anyway. I make a goon tent as a side hustle because it's extra income, but I could not imagine being famous for it. Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to necessarily blame the OF girls because, like, you know, I don't really like what they're doing, and I feel like they're not going to be happy with it eventually, but at the same time, it makes them money, you know. The economy's not super great right now, especially if you live in certain areas. If you want to afford to live there, might be something you do. See, I'm trying to be an understanding guy, okay? I'm trying to be an understanding dude. The average OF creator makes like $200 a month. Well, I mean, sometimes that can change your life a lot, you know, if you're really broke. Also, like, I mean, yeah, but also, like, there are a lot of famous ones who do make a lot of money.
That's going back. I mean, and also, you know, I'm trying not to ignore the elephant in the room, which is that you first
The average YouTuber makes $0 a month.
came on many people's radar through sex work, and that was a mixed blessing for you, if I can call it. I mean, how is that would that be an
She's so mad. Look at her face. She looks like she's like confused by where she even is.
appropriate term? Let's put that to one side for a second then, because what I was going to get to was the idea that what I see in you when I look at your content, you're very active on Instagram and TikTok and also Twitter. In fact,
He seems so nervous. He seems so nervous to talk to her, maybe because of her gaze. He seems really nervous to even talk to her about what she does because he can tell she's kind of uncomfortable. He's like, you know, I'm very impressed by what you've done.
Impressed by your productiveness. Like you actually put out a lot of...
I understand why Mia is sick of talking about her past, but at the same time, the only reason she's booking these interviews is because of her adult video career.
The virus ruined my senior year. We were in a national musical festival when lockdown started and it got canceled before we could perform. That sucks. For me, it was awesome because you guys got to keep in mind, I was already on my YouTube shit by then, okay? I was doing YouTube consistently from when I was 14 on, and I've been doing it ever since then. But also, after my freshman and sophomore years, I just stopped doing any sports, stopped doing cross country, stopped doing track. I didn't give a fuck about anything. So it was great for me. It made my senior year. I got to be at home all day and make videos. I couldn't have been happier.
You can't get mad at Louis for not wanting to have an in-depth discussion about fashion. It's like if J.K. Rowling did an interview but got pissed if you brought up
What is Mia Khalifa's fashion brand? I'm not a fashion expert, but Shaitan? So I go on the website for her brand, and I instantly see her in a bikini already with, is this underwear? What is this? Oh, it's like a bra. Okay, lol. Her fashion brand. Her innocent fashion brand. She's making shoes.
Harry Potter. That's kind of her claim to fame. When Mia does humor him about addressing her past, she has some choice words.
It is a part of my life, but it's not necessarily something that I would ever lead with because it is the smallest blip of anything I've ever done in my life. I know that the majority of women...
That's cope. That's fucking cope. And once again, I kind of feel bad for her because, like, she clearly, even though she still does OnlyFans, like, she doesn't want to be known for it, I guess. But, like, you still do it. You undoubtedly are known because you're a star. Nobody I've met in real life knows that Mia Khalifa has a fashion brand, but they all know who she is because they've seen her suck a dick on camera, you know? Am I being too mean? I don't know. She's just, like, I don't want to, like, hate on her like unreasonably, but this is just, like, delusional. It's the smallest thing of anything I've ever done. It's the biggest thing of anything you've ever done and maybe will ever do.
Women in the sex work industry are women of color, and those are that's the most overlooked demographic in the whole world. So there is no one policing it because there's no one policing for their betterment outside of sex work. So of course that's going to be even more overlooked.
Pointing out that a majority of sex workers are non-white is such an odd point. I mean, she's not wrong, I suppose, but considering a majority of the world is non-white, it would kind of be weird if that wasn't the case.
Are the majority of, like, stars non-white? Are they? When I've been into my gooner phases of life, I was only watching white people. Are the majority of them non-white? How dare you ignore BBC? My bad. The therapy is crazy, of course. Then you're racist? Yeah, my racism came out in what I was jerking off to. You need diversity in your goons? Yeah. You need equal opportunity gooning.
I suppose she was trying to make the claim that minorities are exploited by the adult entertainment space. But next up, Miss Khalifa reveals a new tidbit about herself that I've never heard her mention before.
I identify as a bit of a nerd, and I see certain nerd-like qualities in you.
It's the autism.
Were
What?
you joking when you
Wait,
said
what?
that you are autistic or have
No,
autism?
very much not joking. But since I was in...
She has autism? Wait, what? Does Mia Khalifa have autism? I guess if I look it up, I'm only going to get what she says. Mia has autism. She discussed her autism episode of Louis Theroux. Okay, so the source is literally just the interview we're watching right now. She has autism? All I do is cry on this app, bro. Mine knows I'm autistic and hate sudden loud noises, so he screams as loud as he can when I least expect it. She has autism? I'm so perplexed by this. Is that bothersome? I don't know if it's bothersome. I've just never heard this. She never struck me as an autistic person at all. Maybe she has, like, Asperger's? Why is it every person these days has autism? Well, I don't want to accuse her of lying because I don't know, but a lot of people, there are a lot of people who genuinely have autism, but a lot of people, you know, they see it as like especially like non-binary children on Twitter, they see it as like a thing they can have, you know, because there's like a very big sort of victim culture complex where like mental illness and disabilities are celebrated, conditions are celebrated, and if they're not, you know, if they're a white person and they're not black, and they can't like use that as like part of their struggle conversation, they want to fit in. They're like, oh, well, I'm actually autistic and I don't like loud noises and don't understand social cues. Like that's their explanation right away. You know, that's why.
Since I was in high school, I got diagnosed with ADHD in the 7th grade and then OCD and autism in high school.
From what I can tell, Mia has never mentioned having ADHD, OCD, or autism before. So this is brand new info.
Did he put Sonic there? He put Sonic there? Whoever edited this was Boblax maxing.
Autism before. So this is brand new info, which I suppose is the most interesting tidbit from the podcast. She then goes on to explain how these conditions have affected her life. This includes her comments related to Israel.
Even if my brain says that is probably what you should not say, it's like a compulsion.
Really?
Reminds me of when Anissa claimed she only got implants due to her autism. Did she say that? You look goofy on the recent Tomboys thumbnail. Base. Wait, did Anissa say she got implants because of her autism? Anissa Jama autism? Is that real? Maybe it's in here. Does Anissa have autism? Okay, so it's not in this video. Where did she say she has autism? I've never heard that before. I'm a diagnosed tard based. Where can I find this clip? I need to see this now. Someone in chat, fucking find that shit. If anyone knows where that is, what video I can find that in, I need to see that so bad where Anissa says she has autism. I've never heard that ever. If I find the clip, where should I send it? Tweet it at me. You can have sensory issues without autism. It's called SPD. I have it, but I'm not autistic. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people can. But, once again, putting a label on it is something a lot of people like. I just saw a bug crawl into your skin. Base, I hope he tickles me. I'm so perplexed. It's multiple levels. First of all, Mia has autism, and then Anissa has autism?
Yeah, that one was a little bit different.
It was on H3, was it? Hold on. I need to find this so bad. Anissa H3 podcast. I think she's been on a few of them, though. It must have been this one, right? It's not in here. There's no mention of autism. Maybe it's in a different episode. Is there a different one? All this autism talk, but are your maidens in awe of your tism? They definitely are.
I also don't regret that. That's not... What happened to me isn't the worst thing that happened to someone who was standing up for Palestine. So I also just roll with it and have no regrets.
After much sidetracking, Louis eventually builds up the courage to try to broach the subject of the adult industry again, with a bit more success this time around.
Who doesn't have a slutty phase when they're 2021? I made really bad decisions because I had...
Who doesn't? You know what? I'm going to say a lot of girls don't, okay? I'm going to have a feminist take here. I think there are lots of girls who don't have a quote-unquote slutty phase in their 2021. And most of them also don't do... You know what? Contrary to what some of the incels believe, not all women are roasties. Not all women are sleeping around all the time. In fact, I would argue that the majority of women don't like sleeping around and actually would prefer to be in a monogamous relationship, okay? You know what I think? I think that guys actually like to sleep around more than girls. This is just my anecdotal observations. I don't think that most girls have a slutty phase or a hoe phase, quote unquote. I don't think that is the case. Some of them do for sure. I mean, if you're on fucking, the most sexual avenues possible, if you're trying to hook up with people on Tinder, obviously you're going to seek out those girls. But when I was in college and there were women that I knew who were in college, the majority of them were not sleeping around constantly. There was the ones that were it was noted oh, that girl slept with fucking half the dorm, right? It wasn't every single girl was doing that.
I had really bad influences around me, specifically with the person that I was dating at the time. I was in a relationship with a 24-year-old when I was 16, and my keenness to make them happy and do what they wanted is why I was in the industry.
I find it interesting that for some reason in this interview, Mia doesn't want to mention the detail that she was married to her groomer, instead referring to him as a guy I dated or a person I was in a relationship with. I really have no idea why she's omitting that detail, as she has talked about it in the past.
Well, to give a little bit of a credit to Mia, if that happens to you, even if you've talked about it sometimes, maybe you don't want to talk about it after the fact, Maybe you don't want to discuss with everybody, every time it's brought up, how your relationship was very toxic or harmful to you or potentially grooming or something like that, where I think that could definitely make sense. I don't really begrudge her for not wanting to go into the detail on something like that. It's probably traumatic for her, or influenced her life in a very negative way. If she was 16 dating a guy who was in his mid-20s, I probably wouldn't keep bringing it up if I was her. I probably would, maybe I would mention it once or twice. Maybe I would talk about it for a while, but eventually maybe you just don't want to discuss that phase and go into that, and have to talk about how you were a victim. I think that makes perfect sense.
Chalking up her time in the adult space as a slutty phase, as if most women have done something similar, is so strange as well. Especially considering that simply pointing out her older husband had a hot wife fetish makes the story so much more understandable.
A hot wife fetish? What is that? What is a hot wife fetish? The fetish for having a hot wife? Oh, is this a cuck thing? I found a fucking article. Great. From killingkittens.com. The hot wife fantasy is a term that's mostly used in the swinger community. Oh, we're on some Mercatus shit. However, it is growing in popularity across many ENM communities. What is ENM? Ethical non-monogamy? Oh, brother. Oh, no. It's when a person has relations with others with the consent of their primary partner as a turn on to themselves and to their primary partner. Okay. Can you not say cuck on YouTube anymore? The definition of it. Fighting through pancreatitis at the hospital at the moment. Tom streams give up morale. Good luck, buddy. Get that thing taken out. Good luck. or whatever the doctor says. I feel like Mia saying that, like, what girl didn't have a phase where she was sleeping around constantly, is kind of cope. You know, most of the people she knows, probably because she was a star, probably women who did do that. But I don't think the majority of women had that. Some of them do, but not all of them, and I don't think it's a majority. I doubt it's even like 40%, honestly. I think that would seem high to me. Definitely not half.
What really is most egregious, though, is that she then goes on to make the claim that her adult videos didn't catapult her into a successful social media career.
No way.
Unfortunately, it's there for the world to see, but it's also a great learning experience. It's not something that I see as like something that catapulted me. I mean,
I swear I don't.
Why even say that? It's like delusional. That's like just pure delusion. Does she know she's lying, or has she convinced herself somehow that that's not the reality? Not a single person in the world has found out about Mia Khalifa for any reason other than her doing. Are there people who maybe like her fashion brand or her I don't know if she has a podcast. Yeah, maybe. But everybody who knows who she is found out about it because she was naked on video, undoubtedly. What is she even saying? She's just lying. Like, it's a straight up lie. It's like, is she ill?
Don't want to be so confrontational with my reactions to her statements here.
I thought she was a singer. Oh, you probably think that because of the diss track, right?
But how on earth can she not know that her online success is only due to those early movies? Yes, she left the public eye for a bit after, but her career as an influencer and a person of interest in general revolves entirely around the commotion that the hijab scene caused a decade ago. Louis then asks her about the amount of scenes she did back in the day.
Because you made like just 11 scenes or 11 movies?
yeah.
Of course, this is another lie, as she has done around twice that many. But again, I have to ask myself why this claim is even perpetuated. Having done 11, 12, or 24 shoots doesn't change much about her story. Perhaps that's why no one bothers to fact check it.
Yeah, it's not that big of a difference. Like, if you've done 11, you're still considered a corn star. If you've done 22 of them, you're still considered a corn star, right? Like, it's still basically, like, if you've done one, I guess you could say, like, oh, I just did one. But if you've done anywhere above 10, it's going to be like, okay, well, yeah, anywhere above 5. Honestly, if you've done it more than once and released it online, you're just going to be considered a star, right? Which makes sense. He should have played the clips. Yeah, he needs to add the clips in for context, clearly.
Miss Khalifa then goes on to make another unprompted comment about Israel.
Do you keep a
Yeah, I did notice when he asked her, you did 11 movies or scenes, she just said yeah, because she doesn't want to elaborate on what it was. She would rather go with scenes if that's like the more favorable one to her.
body count?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
It's a big thing on the internet
Yeah.
right now.
All I know is mine's probably lower than Gal Gadot's.
Shots fired.
No.
Lower than Gal Gadot's. Why does she hate Gal Gadot? What did Gal Gadot do? She's an actress. Also, why would it be lower? If you've done it on video in 24 videos, is it, I mean, maybe it's the same guy in some of them, but I mean, that's probably at least like 5 to 10 guys, right? Oh, it's because she's Jewish? Is that it? She's an actress from Israel? That's it? Oh yeah, because she really doesn't like Israel. I remember now. Okay, because she's a Palestine supporter. Okay.
No, those were her shots that she fired.
What did she say?
She was in the IDF. It's a different type of body count.
Oh, you made a joke. You made a very dark joke. Do you
The IDF shit is always surprising to me because it just shows like a total lack of understanding of like what happens in Israel. Like if you're born in Israel, you have to be part of the IDF. It's a mandatory military service. Every woman that's in that lives in Israel, every man is in the IDF. Like you have to be. More like IDFC. True. I mean, like if somebody's like going around bragging about being in the IDF and like killing as many people as possible, like obviously that's going to be like one thing, you know, but like it's literally mandatory military service. Everybody who is Israeli has to be in there for a certain amount of time, you know?
see a two-state solution as either viable
joke.
or desirable?
They have no right to exist.
Look at his sigh.
To be fair, when Louis gives her
He doesn't want to push back on that at all.
an out, she does concede that she believes there's a difference between religious Jews and Zionists from the nation of Israel. But if you recall the comments that she's made in the past, this
Israeli propaganda is disgusting. I hope Hamas targets schools and children. Holy shit. Oh my God. So she is just a Frogan type. She's vicious. She's actually like a vicious person. If you want to support Palestine, I mean, that's fine. There's probably like justification for supporting them or saying free Palestine. Like, I'm not going to say that there's no reason to say that. You know, people have their reasons. But to, like, are you psychotic to cheer on children dying? That is crazy.
seems to be an ongoing trend, and I'm not sure why she always brings it up.
Yeah, Frogan, if she saw that, would be like, based? And then she'd post a fake apology on Twitter about it.
Last interesting part of this podcast I'd like to mention is when Mia looks back with such high regard at her time at military boarding school.
Could you see yourself starting a family?
Absolutely. I can't wait to be a mom one day.
Would you
Send their ass to boarding school. I went to boarding school, and it was the greatest thing in the entire world.
Ask what they want. Did you have a good experience at boarding school?
I did. I had a great experience.
Were you weekly or monthly, or how often did you come
It was about
home?
3 hours from home.
I find this odd because I think out of all the things in her life that failed her, military school should be on the top of that list.
Also, just practically speaking, if you're a woman and you want to have kids at all, right? If you want to have children at any point in your life, I think you should heavily consider the effects that your internet footprint and paper trail could have on them, right? Because obviously, even if you are somebody who's pro sex work and you accept that, your child, if you were a star and a successful one to any degree, will have their life brutally ruined when they're in school. If kids that they go to school with can easily bring up a video of your mom getting back shots, it's going to be brutal. So I think if you're going to do content like that, and you want to have kids, it is, if you want to do it, you can do it. I think it's good to have kids, but I think, prior, you really need to heavily consider the implications that can come from that.
Not only is she strongly against U.S. military service, but at this academy, she admitted to one of her teachers having a sexual relationship with her. On top of this, she met her first husband at this institution when he was in his
Best job I ever had.
20s and she was a minor, only for him to marry her a few days after she turned 18. If any event in her life was the first domino that led her into, it was her parents sending her to this military academy.
That's not really the main takeaway. I think the main takeaway is what an interesting person Sarah Jo is. I was thinking about whether I should have gone a little further in the conversation about two-state solution. I don't know if Mia/Sarah Jo was offended by that question. She did mention it on Twitter afterwards. It'll be interesting to see how the episode is received. Feel free to let me know if you're offended.
Let me know if you're offended. Why is he so scared of offending them? You can ask tough questions. If they're offended, that's their fault.
If you want to dox me, I am open to you doing that.
If you want to dox
And that
me?
ends what
He's just taking it. He's taking back shots more than Mia Khalifa ever did.
I feel was a pretty lackluster interview with Mia Khalifa. To be fair to Louis, he filmed this before my video on the subject came out.
He seems nervous. Yeah, he is nervous. Well, because he wants to be seen as a very, I would guess, progressive dude who isn't offending anyone. And I think that's, can be somewhat noble sometimes. If that's where your beliefs lie, that's okay. But, I don't think you should allow or encourage your guests to just lie and let them get away with it and let that cause backlash to you. You should have a little more spine than that. I guess he is old at this point, so maybe he just doesn't want to fucking deal with it, but still.
And maybe it's a bit presumptuous.
He's typically neutral. Well, there's a difference between being neutral and being disingenuous or ignorant. There is a difference between these things. You can be neutral while still asking about the real questions.
That he would have seen it in his research even if it was available. Still, I'd love for someone to sit down with her and have a frank discussion with the real details of her story, instead of just knowing a few false stats of a faulty narrative that have been built up over the past decade. I think Louis Theroux is used to chatting with people that are more open with their origins. So regardless of how earnest he presented himself during this chat, it was going to fall flat. I do hope one day we'll get something a bit more substantial so we can finally uncover the entire story of Mia Khalifa, because I definitely think there's an interesting tale to tell.
Now, this is not the only controversy with her. Obviously, we saw her pretty psychotic tweet there. There's other stuff as well that's going on with her right now. We got to do Internet Versus episode about what's happening with her. She's gotten into some big drama on Twitter.
Recently, there has been multiple influencers and media personalities being very critical of the U.S. military, with the second drama this month of someone talking about U.S. soldiers and PTSD. The other day, Mia Khalifa dropped a brazen video giving her
Testing my EBT card is all I can give. Base, dude. Thank you.
opinion on veterans, and this set the internet into flames, with some people saying she's absolutely correct, and others condemning her for the radical language. Welcome to the internet versus Mia Khalifa and the military. It starts when Mia tweets out this video of herself.
Good morning to everybody who is not in the U.S. military. Good
That's
morning
me.
to
Good morning.
everybody who is sitting at home and not on soil that doesn't belong to them, fighting a war for a country that doesn't care about them.
Bro, even if she was about to say something I agree with, I would just fucking hate her because of the way she talks. It's so cringe. It's so fucking self-righteous, dude. Good morning to everyone in the world. Shut up.
I hope you go over
So
there
smug.
and get your little brain all scrambled up with PTSD and then come back here and see how much the United States cares about you, Pookie. See how much they care about you when you come back with, oh, I'm so sad. I piss my pants every time I see a falafel stand in Manhattan. Let's see how much the VA cares about you.
Okay, first of all, implying that every single service member hates Arabs or Muslims and is racist against them because of falafel. Okay, good one. Secondly, once again, the audacity of someone to say this in the first place, like Frogan, a streamer, okay, who, you know, is allowed to exist partially because of former U.S. military operations that have benefited her, is insane. Also, the idea that every soldier, if you believe that the United States military is bad and should be criticized and they're imperialist, fine, whatever. That's a fine take. You want to say that, whatever. But the idea that every soldier, that like individual is responsible for that is also, Mia, I don't know if you know this, but in some countries you can't actually do. In some countries you can't actually do. And if you do it, you're very shamed. In some countries, you have to wear a burqa if you're a woman. You can't even have cleavage exposed, okay? I don't know if you know that. Kind of a shocker. To you, I don't think it should be, but it is kind of a shocker maybe, so I'll inform you. For you, somebody who has lived a life of luxury, became a multi-millionaire off of swallowing cum.
Pause.
Literally. For you to shit on the average American soldier who maybe wasn't as informed as you are, okay? If that's what your take is. Wasn't as informed as you are, just needed a job, or thought they were doing the right thing by serving their country. To shit on them is insane. To cheer on the fact that their brains get scrambled because they watch their friends get blown up. It's just, it's so self-serving. It's so ignorant, man. It's foul.
Let's see what they tell you to do with your little broken brain from going over to fight a war that's not yours.
She's like, haha, you got shipped off to fight a war that's not yours, and now your brain is all fucked up, and you don't get money for it, and you won't have help from the VA. You're going to be mentally ill. Haha, haha. You're a victim of a war that wasn't yours. Haha. Like, it's so foul. What is wrong with her? How do you think this callously? I don't want to pearl clutch, but this is like the way she behaves is actually disgusting. I joined the military so I wouldn't be homeless. Yeah. But she would be like, oh, you should have just been homeless and eaten raisins off the ground. Okay. Just do Fent. That's what she would say to you.
They're going to tell you to try breathing exercises because the U.S. government does not give a fuck about you once you cannot die for them.
Then criticize the government. If you believe that, criticize the government. Why do you have to criticize the people that you're saying are victims? Why do you have to cheer on the victims of the military-industrial complex?
Once you're done, once you're a shell, they don't care about you. What did I say on Z-Way that one time? Yeah, I think that still stands as very accurate.
RG Chris responds, if you hate America so much, why don't you leave? Springwater Poppy says, why white people always telling people to leave? And Chris says, I didn't tell this person to leave. I simply asked why they don't leave if they hate it here so badly. Gee, that's
It's because they want to be able to shit all over the country they're in while also enjoying the personal freedoms and luxuries that allow them to do that in the first place. That is why. And to be clear, I support her right to say what she wants, but I still think she should have some kind of like base level of understanding of the fact that if not for the history of the country she lives in, she would not be able to benefit, and partially the military, she would not be able to benefit from all the luxuries that those wars afforded her. War is a brutal thing. It's not good. I think there's definitely a lot of unjustified operations the U.S. military has carried out. There's no doubt about that. Oh, I didn't even notice this. I didn't even notice this pause. That is fucking crazy, bro. That is nuts.
Spooky says, I can Google your butthole. Opinion discarded. Or Fearbuck also tweets out the video of Mia Khalifa. And Squidron replies, on soil that doesn't belong to them. You are in America as a Middle Eastern.
Okay, well, that's not, America is a country of transplants and immigrants. Like, doesn't belong to them. This isn't like the white man's country, so that's kind of dumb.
Uzi says, she wore a hijab for a pee video. She needs to keep her mouth closed. Juice WRLD's Gun says, she can't even go back to her own country. Very moisturized Quotes Fearbucket says, whores offering their opinions in public without fear of shame or reprisal really confirms that misogyny isn't real. And Nicholas replied,
I mean, misogyny isn't real. I'm sure there's misogyny that exists. It just doesn't exist in the bubble that Mia Khalifa exists in because she's built a little world for herself. Misogyny definitely is a thing that people can do in the same way that like sexism is a thing people can do and racism is. But just online where she exists, it is not a problem for her. Yes.
North America is such a weird place because you simultaneously have evangelicals straight out of the Middle Ages preaching about God and hell, and then actresses walking around or the hawk to a girl making millions. What's an insane country at times.
Well, that's kind of what makes it beautiful. You know, you can do whatever you want, make your own way in the world, you know, within a very very wide amount of reason. You can basically do whatever you want. And why do we have those freedoms? Why did that happen? Because our founding fathers wrote it into the Constitution, and then generations of men defended that Constitution and protected those rights. Like, would she ever say this about like World War II? Would she ever say this about a conflict like that?
Cloneristic says, the most offensive part about this is not disparaging the troops as a treasonous foreigner or being a dumb whore with opinions online. It's the grating TikTok mannerisms and condescending baby talk. A plague of intolerable cringe. And Congress needs to step in pronto or I will. Jay Rockwell says, she's disgusting, but she's right about it not being our war and the US government being corrupt and evil. Shacker quote tweets Fearbucket says, nah, she is right that the US barely gives a fuck about veterans. Every homeless person I see was in the military. It's for real sad.
It is sad for sure. Like, a lot of homeless people are mentally ill. The reason why they're mentally ill is because they experienced the horrors of war and then they weren't supported after the fact. That is true. But like, to blame them for the position they're in versus the powers that be is really cringy.
And Mighty Keith says, how does her being right about vets in America negate the other part where she is clearly wishing brain-scrambling PTSD on the soldiers?
True.
That is the part that's troubling here.
Based Keith, whoever you are, you're freaking based.
Gameskage says, why is this the second time this has happened this week? And Mighty Keith says, it's wild. Of course there are bad people in the military, but generalizing everyone who serves is crazy. Celtic Kentuckian says, they're obeying orders to feed their American families. Your lack of knowledge on how life works is sad. We shouldn't go for Israel, but you wishing PTSD on someone says a lot of your character or lack thereof. Come sluts. And Shakur responds, I'm not wishing PTSD on anyone. Read the tweet again. And Panda says, Mia is. Tectone quotes Fearbucket says, this video is much better on mute. Just like all of her old videos that made her famous.
Based, dude. Based. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't, I think I have probably watched one of those videos at some point. I don't think I watched it on mute, though.
Kazahana says, all this talk about brain scrambling, like we haven't seen her inside scrambled a million times.
The roasting. They're not letting up. The roasting is unreal. They keep laying into her. They are not letting Mia Khalifa off on this one, okay? Let it be known. The Twitter roast brigade will not allow her to get away. She's on a tight leash.
Matt Pitt quotes Fearbucket says, the last time Mia Khalifa was relevant was like 10 years ago when she was snitching on all of the pro athletes that were in her DMs. After that, the only relevancy she had was a TikTok song dissing her. Optimist quotes Fearbucket says, why anyone takes the opinion of someone who's been plowed by dozens of men on camera seriously beats the hell out of me.
To be clear, I don't think that just because you do your opinion is totally invalid everywhere. I would say you're particularly, knowledgeable of the industry if you want to criticize it after the fact. If you have done that and been through it and you have, a lot to say, that's fine. And she can speak about complicated political issues. That's also fine too. I don't want to say that just because of her past, she can't speak on these issues, I'm not going to be the kind of guy like, oh, just because of your past, you can't have an opinion on anything. That's pretty dumb. But with the particular take she had, I agree. Her past is, a little bit related to that. She can't go back to her own land, but she's always welcome back to Scoreland. Is Scoreland a thing, I assume? I'm assuming this is like Brazzers.
Yeah. This is the same person who claimed they were so retarded that they became the most famous porn star of all time while making McDonald's wage because they were too stupid to read contracts or negotiate properly. Why exactly, again, am I supposed to take anything she says seriously?
Yeah, this isn't even really true.
And Nicholas Diorio says, I'd still listen to Mia over Frogan.
Based.
John Forte replies to Optimist by saying, my guy, you're a YouTuber. Ryan quote tweets Fearbuck and says,
this is the interesting thing. Everybody has their own little designation for what makes someone's opinion invalid. To some people, it's if you are in the military. To some people, it's if you're a YouTuber. To some people, it's if you have OnlyFans. Everybody has their own definition of like bottom of the barrel feeder that invalidates your opinion. Which is why I like to not engage in that too much unless their past directly contradicts the opinion they're having now and they're clearly being a hypocrite. Outside of that, I like to try to be more understanding of people's past and, you know, try to think that, okay, you can still have a valid or invalid opinion. Doesn't mean that it has anything to do with your past, okay?
Mia Khalifa is the first diagnosed corn star to get CTE from back shots. Chris Cappy quote tweets Fearbuck and says,
Whoa.
"Thank you, Mia, for using your platform to bring awareness to the broken mental health system for American veterans." And Hassan replies, "She ain't wrong. America does not give a shit about its veterans. Unless they want to talk about immigrants, then they love remembering their homeless vets."
Interesting. I mean, on some level, she is right for sure about, you know, the treatment of veterans, probably. I'm not an expert on this, but I do get the impression that the American military doesn't do the best that they can to benefit veterans after they're, you know, in service and potentially traumatized from what happened or injured or stuff like that. But at the same time, like, that's not all that she said. She said, "Boo-hoo, you have PTSD. I hope you're traumatized forever." I'm like, come on, bro. There's so many stories from vets about how they were either desperate or tricked by recruiters, so it's not like they chose them to release themselves. I mean, yeah. The thing is, like, there's probably a lot to criticize about the war on terror. You know, I'm not super familiar with the arguments, but there probably are a lot of criticisms to be made there. But to say that every single soldier that went there is, like, responsible, given the fact that they're, like, responsible for what the government did specifically in, like, the military operations they took part in, considering the fact that we literally had an attack on U.S. soil on one of our largest cities, New York City, where 3,000 Americans died. Like, can you really blame a guy who's, like, in his late teens or early 20s for wanting to join the military after they see their fellow countrymen get blown up by a plane from terrorists? Can you really blame them for wanting to join up for a little bit, you know? Especially when they see that Godsmack ad. You guys know what I'm talking about, the Godsmack U.S. military ad? You can't really blame them for that.
And Chris replies, "America does more for its vets than any other country. 5% of the entire U.S. budget, $300 billion, is veteran benefits. I'm a veteran of Iraq, and I'm able to get mental health whenever I need at the VA. But it's not perfect. People ending themselves is still a huge problem. Glad we're all shining a light on it." Evan quote tweets Fearbuck and says, "Love how no one in the replies is even trying to argue with what she's saying, because it's objectively true."
But, like, that's not even, what she's saying is not objectively true. She's shitting on the veterans. That is not objectively a good thing to do at all. Like, if you want to like express sympathy towards those people or have a neutral take on them and then make your criticism of what happened here, fair enough. You know, if you want to criticize the U.S. military, you want to criticize the operations, you want to criticize the knowledge of the soldiers before they went into it, fair enough. You want to say they were ignorant, okay, maybe. But to say that they deserve PTSD is nuts. Like, the beginning 10 seconds of her statement was her being like, "I'm so glad that you guys want to kill yourselves."
Drama Alerts also posts a clip of Mia Khalifa, and Zerko responds, "She clearly has PTSD from all the D she's taken." Killimax says, "She's only done like 12
Not true.
videos, bro."
Misinformation.
AKA says, "Typical left-winger. Let me guess. Twitch streamer?"
You can see how wide her lies have spread just because people on Twitter who probably don't even know that much about her will still spread her lies.
And Deepa says, "I hope she gets deported." HVAC says, "Is this like a reverse psychology psyop? Is this making me want to end people for Israel?" Myron Gaines says, "Dumb 304s think they can insult people that serve this nation and got blown up while she was served up a job."
Man, the jokes are crazy. the roasts are just insane. She can never speak again without this shit being brought up.
Drama Alert then quotes himself with this clip and says, "Mia Khalifa got PTSD from
Damn!
Post-traumatic.
The Drama Alert Twitter account, dude, is so fucking... It's so hellbent on reaction bait. They're good at it. They're really good at phrasing things in a way that's going to get them attention. That account is absolutely blown up.
Stress that is in you from this experience.
Yes, and I think it kicks in mostly when I go out in public, because the stares I get, I feel like people can see through my clothes, and it brings me deep shame. It makes me feel like I lost all right to my privacy.
Angry Cops replies, "PTSD, pussy terribly stretched and destroyed."
Damn.
Mama says, "It brings me deep shame." Yeah, right. Holly London
I mean, I would be willing to believe it gives her deep shame at some level if she didn't have an OnlyFans right now, but that kind of makes me question, like, I don't know. Maybe you don't really feel shame from that when you still post yourself naked online, you know?
also tweets out the video of Mia, and Marcus quote tweets it saying, "As a veteran with PTSD, it's interesting how people are framing this as her being anti-veteran when she's actually highlighting that the VA/government doesn't support veterans nearly as much as they should. Should she not have said she wishes PTSD on people? I don't know. Is that really the part that frustrates and upsets you the most?"
Yes, it is actually. Like, obviously that would frustrate and upset people the most. Obviously, for somebody who has like a family member that they care about, or a husband, or like literally anyone that they know, a friend who has been through that, obviously they're going to be pissed off by her saying that they deserve the PTSD. Obviously, it's going to be the part that frustrates people. The words you say do matter. Like she didn't even try to not say it that way. She actively said it in such a specific way to communicate that she hates veterans and she is glad that they are harmed psychologically. So obviously people are gonna have a problem with that.
It's not for me. Ask any vet if they got the VA to say their knee or back pain was actually service-connected. Pinkino replies, yeah, she's not wrong with the government not caring, but it's framed in such a spiteful way that it's just odd to do. And Marcus says, given the tone shift at the end, that may be intentional, possibly to get people triggered and spread it. And Pinkino replies, you can do it without the weird rage bait. Like it starts off as like mean-spirited and like, you get what you deserve. That's largely how it comes across. Someone then asks Mia Khalifa to make the same video.
It's not even like she buried it in the clip. It was like the first thing she said. Like she started off the video with the intention of rage baiting people by saying the most inflammatory thing she possibly could, which is also an opinion that she believes and expresses. Like she didn't, walk it back, be like, I'm just joking. I feel bad. Like it wasn't anything close to that at all. In Spanish, please. Well, you can watch her old content in Spanish, I'm sure, dubbed, or just, like Tecton said, turn off the sound.
In Spanish, and she follows up with this 20-second clip.
Claro, pero escúchame, por favor. Cuando los soldados terminan la guerra, al gobierno no les importan los soldados. Entonces, ¿por quién estás luchando? Quédate en tu país. No mexicanos. Mexicanos, ven aquí. Ven aquí. Americanos, quédate en tu país.
The flag guy says, stick to what you know. Sucking sausages. Leave the wartime decisions to the adults. Luis quote tweets Mia and says, and why didn't you stay in Lebanon? And
I do kind of wish that people would give her a little bit more charitability, just because I feel like the arguments she's making towards the back half of the clip are more there is an actual conversation to be had there, but she did it to herself. I don't really feel bad for her. I wish the conversation was a little better, a little more measured, as entertaining as this is. But at the same time, she brought it on herself, so why would I feel bad for her? She wanted. She had to have seen that people would be outraged at what she said.
Mia quote tweets him and says, because I didn't move to America to invade it. I moved to evade the US-made bombs Israel kept dropping on our heads. Cat B replies, says the woman whose entire career centered around American men invading her. Khaled says, to evade the US-made bombs Israel kept dropping on our heads? Really? Would you have been able to pursue a career in the corn industry, pretending to be a Muslim in a hijab having S in Lebanon or anywhere else in the Arab world? Angelica Reed says, so many stupid pro-genociders in the comments.
Is that really your explanation for what's going on here? That everybody is criticizing her for shitting on every veteran and saying she's glad they get PTSD. They're all just pro-genociders. I'm not pro-genocide. I'm not pro-Israel. I don't think that children in Israel should die, like Mia said. I just think that she's like a psychopathic freak with no empathy for anyone that's not in her own position. Kiss the gada-gada-gada-gada-o nugget for me, please. Just because you said so, I will. I love you so much, Nugget. Don't worry, he's 34 years old. Is that what you wanted? Did you ever attend Festival of Champions? The name sounds vaguely familiar. Maybe I did. I don't really remember, though. I have limited memory of anything I did not care about when I did it.
Max says, you should move back. Phoenix quote tweets Mia and says, Mia Khalifa moved to the US to avoid the Jews dropping American-made bombs in her face, and promptly got in the business of letting American men bomb her face on a corn site currently owned by a Jewish guy. Lamau. Vegan Lunch replies, just a bunch of disgusting bigots trying to outdo each other by posting the most disgusting and disturbing things they can. It's actually sad. I wish you could be normal, but clearly something is wrong. Pedro quotes Mia and says, more American men have invaded you than Baghdad in 2003. And Base and Bias says, that's a conflict no one ever pulled out.
Oh, man.
Pink Star tweets out, I hope Mia Khalifa has a great day, to be honest.
She was
and
nice.
Mia quote tweets her and says, I am now. And that's what the internet's had to say so far. See you next episode.
Damn. Yeah, I don't know. The more I hear about Mia Khalifa, the more I don't like her. From the lies to the psychopathic comments about veterans and children, I really just don't like her. I wouldn't wish U.S. soldiers PTSD, to be honest. I have my criticisms of the U.S. military complex, but it's a separate issue. Mia's actually not a great person at all. True. Absolutely right. But once again, the people like Mia who claim they want nuance and they want order and the truth to be brought out, they don't actually give a fuck. They just want to be able to psychopathically shit on who they see as their enemies, who really are potentially some of the people that have protected her from whatever could have happened to her if she was in the Middle East doing her career. If you go to Iran, I don't think they view her profession very, very favorably, to be honest with you. Just my 2 cents, though.